Well, welcome to my talk. Thanks for coming. Uh, yeah, we're going to start. All the photos that you will see, except one, were taken by me in my previous stay in Japan 8 years ago in my honeymoon, and others during this one as well. So yeah, after this punctualization, I will rather start. So you all know that we are no longer Plone-React. We are Volto. And yeah, and this is a preliminary icon. You already might have seen it in some presentations made by the almighty Albert Casado. Yoo-hoo! Clap for him. And yeah, let's start. Yeah, you probably have been in the other talks that we already made. We the next don't miss the next ones, especially yeah the Nilesh one. We will explain one of the main tooling that we have right now in the Volto ecosystems, which is create a Volto app, which we will show in a minute. So the idea is that Plone loves React, right? But not only React, we love also Plone, sorry, Angular, and Vue, and whatever framework that comes out in the next 10 minutes. So yeah, and it's not about a pillow fight. This is the only image that is not mine, right? But yeah, and but who cares? I mean, the idea is that we have a strong community, lovely people there, and we are not going to fight. Everybody is doing great things, and it's not the thing to stop in Volto. We really have to continue this effort on front-end developing in all the other possible ways. And yeah, so Plone loves modern front-end, like all of them, all. But Volto especially loves React, right? And this is another version that Albert provides us with the logo. The colorful one, I love this one especially. Yeah. And let's talk also about Pastanaga UI. Pastanaga UI was another concept that was developed also by Albert. And the first implementation that we had was done in the last Plone conference, in fact, and was on Angular. Later on, we started to implement it in November last year in Plone-React itself, in the proof of concept that was already done by Rob. And we decided I will not show anything from Pastanaga UI. You all already know all about it, but we started to implement it on the top of Semantic UI. Semantic UI is yet another CSS framework, right? And we choose it because very specific reasons that I will go over them in the next slides. And first of all, because there's already an implementation of Semantic UI on the top of React, which is called React Semantic UI. You have the URLs here from both things. So we have for one part is Semantic UI itself, which is kind of a bootstrap cousin, we could say, which is implemented, all the JavaScript that is done there is done with jQuery, a la Bootstrap, okay. But we have a good React implementation of everything that Semantic UI brings you. And you can find it here in react.semantic-ui.com. And we're using that for implementing Pastanaga on Volto. One of the main things that Semantic UI is endorsing is one thing that Frederick Brooks, that was, it is still, because he's still alive, is an ex-computer engineer architect from IBM. He designed a lot of things, did a lot of books. One of them is the design of design, and is one thing that is called progressive truthfulness. So I have my cheat sheet here. The idea is that progressive truthfulness is the best way to implement models of physical objects is to start with a model that is fully detailed, but only resembles like the final thing, but it's fully detailed already. So what you do is incrementally do steps for reach what you want in the end, but starting with this thing that is fully detailed and has everything that you will need in the last one, but only resembles and is kind of there, but it's not fully there. And that's important in Semantic UI because it's the whole foundation of it. We'll see it later, how it does Semantic UI endorsed to that. Why Semantic React? Semantic UI. Mainly because of the components architecture, which matches directly to React, I will say. And not only React, of course, to other major frameworks. So it is divided in a lot of small pieces, which each piece is a component. And you have a lot of flexibility on customizing those components. And also you can extend them. And the most important feature there is theming, and we will know why in a while. It sports a very, very good, and I never seen something like this in the industry, like the one that Semantic UI have, and we will see it in a while. So, Semantic UI is built on less. So yeah, not SAS. Sorry, you have to deal with it. Pillofied. Yeah, I love SAS. I mean, I'm also was disappointed when I knew that. But the things, in fact, the building blocks that make the theming possible it just cannot be done with SAS at this moment. And we will see them as well. What is exactly what SAS lacks, and for as far as I know, it's no way that SAS is going to do that in the short term. So we won't have a version of Semantic UI in SAS anytime soon. But it's fair enough. I mean, both things are close. We already have less in Plone, and it's not that bad. I mean, yeah, of course, SAS is quicker because of live SAS and everything, but it's not a big deal at the end. So we have components in Semantic UI. We have a full site CSS that is applied first. So things are applied first the blue section, then the other ones from left to right? So they are applied in a CSS cascade mode. And we have the site CSS and then the reset, or the other way around. No, I don't remember now. But yeah, you know the idea. Then the elements and the components are all these ones available already in Semantic UI and are applied in this particular order. So are divided into elements, into collections, modules, and views, and you already can have a good idea of what Semantic UI is composed by. Those are building blocks that we can use already in Volto. There are Semantic UI components you can reuse and extend. And you also have the Volto one, so you can build your own site with all of them. And we, in fact, build Volto on them as well. So, okay, yeah, fine, but show me, right? I mean, let's see some code. So we have Volto app, which I don't want to spoil things, but this is something that you do by launching the Create React app. Please go to Nilesh talk, and he will teach you about that as well. And then you only have to specify your. Oh, maybe it's not. not very thin. I won't show much console thingies, but you only have to provide your app name here, and then it will create something like this, right? Which you will have the structure, generic structure that we will need for our app. So we will have actions, components, constants, customizations, helpers, reducers, when you can here put all of your custom elements like that. Then what we interest us in this talk is the theme directory. We will come soon to this theme config, which is very important in the semantic configuration and is one of the entry points. But the main thing that I want to show here is how Semantic UI is composed of. So it's for you to see these themes. Sorry, these blocks that are made that make semantic that you can see here. And there, for example, the views, you have the cart view, the comment, the feed. Okay, we'll come to that later. So after this, which is the component anatomy? The component anatomy consists of 3 parts. Each of one component that you already seen is the less variables, the base styles definition, and the React component itself. So we have these 3 things available, and that we should replicate if we create new components as well. And we have a main entry point for all this. So we have to tell Webpack, if you have any knowledge of that, but we have to tell Webpack where is our less files, and this is the entry point that we have for Volto to look into that and start loading things. And this is located here in @Plone Volto Start Client, which we can see in the Volto client.js, not here, here. Here you can see the entry point. Okay, this instructs Webpack to load this less file and then pull over all the theming engine and everything else, right? Here. We have it here, and we'll look into that in a moment. And it looks a bit like this, right? It's standard less imports definitions and loads the small pieces that you already saw in a previous slide, one by one in the cascade that it was supposed to be, and yeah, and that's about it. You can add more here at some point, but we can't still yet. But don't worry about that. It's fair enough for now. Then we have another artifact, which is the theme config, right? Here in this theme config, we find a mapping of less variables, because inside this flexibility that I told you about, you can in fact theme each of the components with a different theme. Here, all the components are based in Pastanaga, but you could say, okay, I love Pastanaga way of doing, I don't know, messages, so pop-up messages. But I like the most the other theme that is whatever, I don't know. Semantic UI has several themes already, and maybe we like the alerts from the GitHub theme. So you could go here and say, okay, no, my alerts, my message component will be like the GitHub theme one. And you only have to touch this, really. And it's very flexible. Another thing that the theme config has is where the theme lives. For now, by default, you can find the themes inside Volto. So it goes to the Volto themes where the Pastanaga theme lives. We will also see it now. Well, in fact, I can show you right away. In Volto, we have the theme folder as well, and we have inside the themes folder we have the Pastanaga theme, which, as you can see, is also divided in the same folders that represents the types, the categorization of the components. And for example, in the globals, you see also the site and the reset that you can override. We will see how to do that later as well. So another thing is the site folder that we will see also in a moment. A lot of things that are recursive, right? I can show you things without doing recursive things. So we will see that. Don't worry, and what it means. But I want that the theme config is the way that you configure how semantic will be high for you. But basically, all here is by default is fine. So you don't have to come here right away and start changing things. You only should know that here is the point where you customize things and do different things than the default one, right? You can configure also where your font's path is and things like that. Well, let's continue. The theming engine, which is the important part. The theming engine works a bit like that. So we have three parts that are loaded each time that we go to the entry point that I show you. So Semantic will pull all these three parts and these three artifacts. The first one is the defaults. Semantic UI has the building blocks. If you remember about the progressive truthfulness, we need the full definition of our building blocks, as much detail as possible, but that doesn't have all the styling already there, but they are building blocks for fulfill where we are going, where will be our final goal, right? So we'll have these definitions. These definitions lives here. If we go to the Semantic UI less source, we have in this folder, it's called definitions, we have the site.less, and we have here, for example, all the default styling for the site that doesn't really match any of the components, but it's defined. It's things like default tags, the bodies, the headers, and things like that, right? This is the body definition by default. And what else? Yeah, we have a default theme as well. Theme that lives here in themes and here in the default theme. You will have the overrides that already applies to the default definitions. And everything in this theme is empty. So if you want to make a new theme, you have to start from this default theme, because it's the theme that it's empty. When we started with the Pastanaga theme, which we will also come back later, we started from this theme and built upon default Semantic UI theme. Definitions. So this is the default. So we have the definitions with our less files, and we have the default theme, which already have, you can find them here, either on GitHub or in the code, because they're important when you're building your theme or either building your the CSS, the custom CSS for your site, because you need somehow like the source, right? I mean, which is the default and which is the things that I have to override, right? And it's handy to have them at hand. Then we have the package themes. Pastanaga, we made a theme out of Pastanaga. And when what you have to do, as you already seen, is to use another artifacts that are called the variables files and the override files. Those files will override the default ones in a cascade CSS way. So, for example, here we have Pastanaga, and we have the side variables for Pastanaga, right? That will override the default ones. Okay. For example, this is the variables that will set the font name that will take it over directly from Google. We have the header font, I don't know, more things like the text, the font size, the default font size, and so on. Primary color from the branding, or secondary color. We have the text color as well somewhere, which is here, the default text color for all our site. We can set it up from scratch. And this lives in the side variables. It's the main variables that that are general, and we are going to use along over all our site. And we can directly set them here to define how our theme are going to behave. Okay, same for the override files. For example, this is the override file for Pastanaga. This file will override the default one, like in override as in CSS. So it will come later. So you can override previously defined directives. CSS directives. So here, like the body, in Pastanaga we have flex layout in the body. So we override it here, right? And so on and so on. So, more information about variables. We have more than 3,000 theming variables, okay? Yeah, which is a lot, I know. And it's kind of overwhelming. Yeah. But I can also see that for someone that is not used to CSS magic or to more into CSS, I think that probably it's the best way. It's a good entry point for someone that doesn't know how to do proper CSS. So it's like a downside. I mean, there's a lot of things good, but there's I have to really search for that variable. And it's a kind of a compromise. I don't know. I'm guilty myself, so I am lazy. And instead of searching for the good, which variable controls what, I'm guilty of simply override the CSS and whatever. But the idea in Pastanaga theme is not to do that and use the proper variables, so non-experienced people is coming here and can kind of theme Pastanaga properly using only variables. And that can be done in Semantic UI. It's kind of a HTML VAC base properties, but yeah, I don't think that base properties back in the day was that so bad idea, whatever. I don't know. So yeah, there are more than 6,000. And yeah, the overrides, as I said, these are simply as, they are less files, but they have a different suffix there, extension. But they are overrides. They are less files. You have to set up that right in your IDE. If not, it will. So, Pastanaga UI theme, we made a theme. We made a theme with Semantic UI theme with Pastanaga. You can find it here. It's still not complete. help will be very welcome during the sprint to finish and to polish rough edges around Pastanaga theme. And yeah, finally, we have the site theme, which I think that is the best thing that we ever had. So we had the defaults. Okay, we have a theme already. In Pastanaga is a theme. But if we want to make a project, we don't need to build another theme. We build a local site theme, which is called a local site theme. So you only have, on the top of that, you have still something that is overriding again everything that is set up, that you set up before. So this is the full cascade. And it goes like this, in this direction. And the most rightful one is the one who wins, either using variables or either using overrides. And I think it's great, and it's a great idea that we only have to take advantage of. So, how we're going? Okay, so we extending Pastanaga UI, the semantic UI way. It can be done. We'll have to drop some file that we can call extras. I'm not saying that here is where you should put your customizations. No, you should put your customizations in this side theme, which I have to show you. So we have the Volto. Yeah. We have our Volto app here, our theme config, which we don't have to touch anything. And we are going to set a globals folder, the same globals folder that we will have in the Pastanaga theme. This is the Pastanaga theme, and as you can see, we have to comply with the categorization of the semantic UI themes, right? So if we want to customize the site variables of the site override, the site styling, we have to make a global directory, and inside that directory we have to have site variables and a site overrides, for example. In the site variables, we've changed the font name, and we set it to red. And in the in the set variables, and in the site overrides, we are setting this small piece of code there. So we are saying, yeah, font size 54, why not? And mine 1 RAM. So let's see how it looks like. So yeah, it's already started. As we introduced new files, we have to restart the Volto process unless the watcher is not that smart. But once we finish, okay, we have our Volto site here, and here it is. We have our how it was called, the Viorime font, and it was set up to 54, and we can watch it live because we have the nice reloader, and we can set it to 84. Okay. We should have of course. We should have the developers open. If not, it doesn't happen. What? No, it's an H2, in fact. H1. Oh, yeah, because this is the main site. Yeah, here not. Because it's Plone side. Yeah, it's a bug we have to correct in the yeah, the non-Plone side ones they are H2 because it should be H2. Okay, and And that's it. And here is where your site, your local site theme should live. So in the theme, the Volto app theme directory, then you start to put there the semantic UI customizations. So quickly here. So it's, yeah, extended Pastanaga UI. When I say this is, for example, we've seen in the interwebs a nice component, drop-down component, needs the React select component, for example, and you see, oh, well, that's awesome. I want that in my Volto site. And then it has its own CSS, hopefully also built on less. And it has the component, so you only have to use that in your Volto app, which is fairly easy. But then you have to deal with CSS, right? So you can create this extra .less and put it on SRC client. And a la Semantic UI, you can do the import of the select, and then in this select file, you only have to maintain these headers. So you have to set this header, setting the type, which is an extra, and setting an element, which is called select. And then import this multiple, which is one of the last features that SAS doesn't have, unfortunately, and makes the old theming work. And then place your third-party less CSS or less files here, and then call this mixin, which is called load UI overrides thingy. And that's it. You have your React select less integrated into your theming engine, which is kind of cool. I have this duplicated for some strange reason, whatever. Okay, same for the variables. So let's see that React Select has variables, and in fact it has. And then you only have to put the variables coming from your third-party component here, and that's it. And the Semantic UI theming is going to take care of it. So, getting to this point, I want to talk also about the dev workflow that you get in Volto. We tried a way of doing things that we like the most, and it helps the client to see things right away by building a prototype in the middle. And this is something that with React you can do very quickly, in fact. So you have mockups from the agency, the design agency, or the designer that you do the styling, the look and feel for you. And then you make a prototype that doesn't work, but it seems like it resembles, it matches the mockup, and without do any wiring at all. And it is something that you can even show to the client with, I don't know, fake data or something, and then get the approval from the client, and then wire it up back with Volto and make it work with the real thing, with Plone on the back. And this is something that it really worked for us. And it's very handy, and the client can see results right away, very quickly. And I really recommend you to do that, because React allows you to do that. I mean, it's that easy. So a little bit wording on tooling, quickly. So use prettier. Use prettier. I mean, you have, it doesn't matter the IDE that you are using, you use prettier, which has a nice plugin that is called prettier-stylelint. And use also stylelint. Styling is the next big thing in linting CSS less SAS. And it has also two plugins that I like the most. The first one, well, is just load the standard rules for linting whatever styling preprocessor that you're using. Here less, of course. But you can, if you have other projects, you can work with that as well. And also style config idiomatic order. This is something that MDO from Bootstrap started to enforce in Bootstrap itself. That is, okay, no, I don't want to just a bunch of declarations in my less classes or IDs in my styling, but I really want it ordered. That to have a special order. So first go the layout, then goes the font, then there goes the I don't remember now really because this plugin does it for you. So when you save, all the declarations are ordered in the pre-established way, which is kind of cool, and you have always the same thing in the same order in your CSS files. And yeah, you only have to do this to install them. And in package.json, you have to enable the idiomatic order and the prettier-stylelint like this. And that's it. You have it. I think that's it, more or less. So final thoughts. I was wary at first, coming from Bootstrap and other frameworks, that, yeah, just another framework, right? And but at the end, I really enjoy to have it, to have to work with it, and it's very enjoyable, and the developer experience is not that bad. However, it has some drawbacks, which I had in my notes, and since I'm not seeing my notes because of the projector, let me get it. Yeah, yeah, semantic is not perfect. I mean, the idea of the theming is unbeatable, I have to say, but semantic itself is not perfect. It's far from being semantic at some point, so you get some what the fucks along the way, but yeah, I mean, at some points it also has too much specificity because of the variables. So yeah, you have a variable for the description of the cards component, and in that variable says, yeah, this is your font size. What does it mean? It means that you have to override that each time that you have a card and you want to change that font size. Yeah. Well, but thanks to modern IDs, it's also fairly easy to overcome. But yeah, it's that specific. You can tell from 3,000 variables, right? Yeah, it's something that, yeah, it's variable, but you say, yeah, again, I have to go and set my own size there. Whatever. Then, yeah, again, the theming engine is brilliant. And you have, when you work with Volto, you only have to take care of this. You don't have diazo, you don't have templating, you don't have, yeah, I have to write this here in a JBot, but I can't because it's the navigation portlet, and I have to write the Python for that, and yeah, and a lot of things that you can think about it, and you only have to deal with React and Semantic UI, right? So you are from a list of these like dependencies or technologies that you have to think, you only go back to 2, which is also fine. So questions?
So just to understand, right, like you get an agency theme, you do that prototype thing, but then to do the final thing, you're basically throwing that away and using all these styles to...
No. Well, the question is how we made the prototyping. It's React, right? You wrote your React components around in Volto, but you don't have to wire them. What means wiring them? It's wiring them to Plone with actions and reducers, so you get the actual data from Plone and made it appear in your prototype. You just don't do that because that takes some time, but you only do the component and the styling with fake data that you later will remove and do the proper wiring, so you don't have to throw anything away, and everything stays in the same thing, in the same place. So you have your components in your components folder, you have your styling in your styling folder, and everything's fine. The only thing is that it's not wired to Plone. Well, for a client, fair enough. And then you wire it to Plone with actions and reducers and everything. You don't have to throw anything away. Everything's there, only it's static. And that's it.
Question, because we are running out of time.
One of the nice things that we've had in Plone for a long time was, like, long before living style guides or anything, there was a page called test rendering where you could go and just see how does everything look. Does Semantic UI or Volto have something like that?
No, but there's something else in the JavaScript world which is called style guide dist and storybook, which both are fine, and their purpose is precisely do that. So you have a gallery of components, and along with the gallery you get the description about them. So you have the reference guide on one side, and you can build things around that. It's something that we already look into that, but we haven't time still to do it, especially for the Volto components. The semantic components themselves, they are fairly well documented in the React Semantic UI website, which is cool. And you even have you can live modify them and play with them. But definitely we have to do that.
So thank you so much, Victor, and it's time to change